This is the first time in my life that I am feeling like a free bird. After 10 years of suffering and turmoil, I finally realize how uplifting this sense of freedom is. Now that I am so far away from all the melodrama and betrayals, I can feel my inner child being so proud of me. I always wanted to travel Texas on my Harley Davidson, but it took me 10 whole years just to realize this dream, and how important it was for me to experience this sense of achievement. Coming from a humble background, being a bike mechanic was never an easy life choice for me. Living paycheck to paycheck was the hardest thing that I had to live with, while supporting my parents and also paying the school fees of my youngest sibling. While I worked 12 hours daily, repairing bikes and maintaining them was tough enough in itself. My boss was a kind man since I was struggling to find any direction. He held me when I was in teen and treated me like his own son. He took me in and trained me with all the necessary skills to perfect this craft. I always used to get very excited when heavy bikes and choppers came into our workshop for upgrading and tuning. That's how I developed my love for bikes. One day, a really pretty girl came to our workshop with her pink scooter. She wanted to give it a good tuning. I hosted her with a warm cup of coffee and got started to work on her scooter and fine-tuned it and maintained it fully. She was pretty happy with the results, and as a goodwill gesture, she requested that if I am free on the weekend, it would be nice to have me as a guest, as they were having a birthday party for her younger brother and she lived just around the corner. I was very much delighted to hear this, so I agreed, and as the weekend came, I got dressed in blue. Her family was very welcoming and kind. It was a very fun event and I enjoyed it a lot. After the event, we went on a long walk and chatted about our upcoming mechanical exam. And if I can help her with her practicals, that would be amazing. I was totally up for it, as she started coming to our workshop and I was teaching her how all the mechanics of bikes worked and how can we improve them, and before we knew it, we were almost meeting on a daily basis and became very close friends and started having very fun conversations. Almost on each weekend we were going out on carnivals or some other parties, or mostly just hanging around by the seaside, and soon we fell in love with each other. Her goal was to become a kindergarten teacher after graduation, and she pushed me to continue my education, so I started the evening classes, and it really helped me with understanding different concepts and enhancing my understanding on multiple subjects. And by the age of 21, we both got married and started our marital life. It was full of ups and downs. Meeting in person as a friend is a different thing, and living with them on a daily basis is an entirely different story in itself. She was an impulsive person. We had our challenges in the start, but they were mostly just minor things. Like, she was pretty irresponsible, while I was highly organized and methodical. She just wanted to have a good time, and I was a very practical and responsible person. She was a huge spender, and we used to get so many bills and expenses. She also started taking loans just to satisfy her shopping sprees, while I was fully up to savings and investing in the long term. Since I was from a weak background, I just wanted to have my children to have a secure future. After 3 years of our marriage, she got pregnant and we had our first baby girl. It was the most joyous moment of our life, but things were already pretty hard on us since we had no savings at all and expenses were through the roof. So I started to do another job in another workshop so we could pay over mortgages. Things started to take a toll when she got pregnant after 2 years with another baby boy. This time she was pretty serious about it. She just wanted to be a stay-at-home mother and did not want to do any sort of job. Now, it was just getting pretty hard for me since the pay was not very high and I was already doing 2 jobs and working 12-hour shift. I simply could not afford to have her sit home, so I requested her mother if she could live with us and babysit the kids, and she was very happy to assist. Jasmine also started her job at school. An interesting thing happened when her school principal raised her salary to double. But now she was going there for like 12 hours. It was not a big deal since we had started to live a relatively comfortable life and grandma was taking care of children, and we both were working hard so that we could pay off our mortgages as soon as possible. After 8 years of our marriage, it started to feel like she's behaving very distant. It was not something that I was too much concerned about because we both were working very hard to give our children the best life we could. In reality, that was not really the case, and soon I started to get all the clues that was necessary to have doubts. One fine Sunday, as I was clearing our garage, I saw her scooty standing there, all pretty dust up and totally non-functional. That was a very odd thing because if the scooter was not working, how has she been going to the school all this time? Well, after cleaning everything, as we sat on the table, I asked her how she has been coming from school to home if she is not using the scooty. She was clearly taken back. At first, she said, "Don't worry about it. It's definitely taken care of." After much insisting, she told me that her school principal is kind enough to pick her up on the way to school from here, and he also drops her off afterwards. This was kinda unexpected since she never shared such news. Yet I did not take it much seriously, since there was nothing much to think about. Matter of fact, I was happy about it. Such a nice and kind gentleman. So I requested her to invite him over next Sunday for dinner and along with his family. As next Sunday came, he and his wife and 2 children came to other homes, and they both were such a lovely family. But something was really off about him. I was unable to pinpoint it, but he was giving a very strange vibes. As everyone was leaving, he gave my wife a relatively long hug. That was something weird for me, but I kept quiet. Soon strange coincidences started to happen. For instance, one day when I came home, I saw a tie in our bedroom. It was a pink one, since I never wore any. What took me off was, another time there was another blue tie in our bedroom. Now this would not simply be coincidence, so this time I asked my mother-in-law if anyone had been to our house. She simply answered when Alan, the principal, dropped her off. Sometime he almost stays here for an hour or 2, plays with children and helps around the house. Such a nice person. This news was like a lightning bolt on my mind because she never had shared any such news. I just thought she might be right up, but she never did. So I wanted to confront my wife, but I kept quiet until the necessary time came. As without any evidence, it was just accusations and I did not want to do any such thing, so I waited for a while so I could come up with some unique plan. I wanted to know more about the situation. So I asked my wife if we could have dinner this coming weekend at Alan's home. She happily agreed and called Alan if they were available for the weekend. We wanted to come over. They happily accepted, and as we went there, it was a very beautiful home and Alan's wife was a very dedicated lady towards her children. I really admired her ethics. After the dinner, we were sitting in the yard and having a cup of coffee. Phone rang and Alan had to go inside to attend, and by chance, my wife also excused us to go to the washroom, so me and his wife were alone for a few moments. This was my chance to confirm my doubts, so I casually asked her, how has their marriage life been lately, since he is a loving husband and supporting partner, to which she laughed. That was answered in itself. But upon my asking, she told me that he never gives us time and is almost never home, goes out pretty early and comes almost always late. Ian is not much really interested in staying home. Since our lifestyle is expensive and he affords all the expenses, I cannot do much about it. I used to be a teacher in the same school, but as soon as he became principal, he requested me to leave the job. Now I knew what was the story of both sides going, and before I took any step, I basically wanted to wait for the right time. Then one fateful night as I came home late and was so much tired myself, but she was pretty sleeping, but to my surprise, her phone was unlocked. So I started to go through it and my suspicions were actually true. To my horror, they had been having conversation for the last 2 years and were pretty intimately sharing all the details that were very heartbreaking to me. I just right away captured all the conversations as evidence and collected everything. After that, I activated the auto reminder so that if they would go anywhere after school timings, an alert will be generated to my phone. It's a basic function that all phones give to secure the locations and theft. I was using this to track my wife and her affair. After a couple of days, I requested Alan's wife to meet me at my workshop, and as she came, I shared it all with her. She already had her suspicions and was furious to the core. As I shared all the details and evidences, she was now determined to uncover him, and so was I. I requested her to wait a few days, as the alert will generate red-handed. Soon as planned, my phone got an email that your phone is at given location. It was Alan's home and her wife was at work. I called her up and picked her up. This time me and Alan's wife explained everything to my mother-in-law, and we also took her along with us to make sure each corner was covered. As we reached Alan's home, his wife quietly unlocked the main door and we sneaked inside. Now, as we went upstairs, they heard our footsteps and rushed outside, and as they saw all three of us, they were covering themselves with remaining clothes. Both were super embarrassed. It all happened so suddenly that my wife covered her face and rushed to the bathroom. Alan's wife started throwing things at him. She was so furious that she started crying. I asked my mother-in-law that it would be better that she does not come home now and onwards. I had my suspicions from the very start now, and you know what had been happening in all these years and how she had betrayed her loyal, honest and loving husband, who had done everything in his power to provide for his family and take care of all the expenses single-handedly, while she had been doing these adventures of hers. It has cost me my peace of mind and my happiness. I am so upset now that it would be better if she never comes back. After saying this, I left that place and came back home. What 10 years of my life had been wasted could never be returned. Yet the only thing that I could do to take revenge was sell off her property, so I immediately put it on sale and the very first buyer that came. Since I had her signs on papers already, I just handed him over the keys at a very economical price. And with the help of that money, I opened my own workshop and immediately relocated to a different place. After that, I packed my stuff, took my children and started shifting to another place so that I could start a brand new life.